This is the Roman army in formation.
This man was voted dictator by the Roman Senate twice, giving him complete control over the Roman state. Most people would hold on to that power for as long as they could, but not Lucius Quinctius Cincinnatus. This humble farmer gave up absolute power twice and changed history. Here's how. Cincinnatus was born around 519 BCE during the final years of the Roman kingdom. He came from the Quinctian family, one of the most powerful and wealthy families in Rome. They were a big deal in Roman politics, and their name often popped up in records of top officials. But life wasn't always smooth for Cincinnatus. His son, Caeso, was fiery and outspoken, always defending the patricians, the wealthy ruling class, and clashing with the plebeians, Rome's common people. One day, during a heated argument in the Forum, things went too far. Caeso was accused of killing a man. Facing a trial that could end in his execution, he fled Rome, leaving his father to pick up the pieces. Cincinnatus was left with a massive fine to pay for his son's actions. To cover it, he had to sell almost everything he owned. He gave up his comfortable life and moved to a small farm across the Tiber River, where he worked the land himself. It was a huge change, but Cincinnatus didn't complain. Instead, he embraced this simpler life, living quietly with his family. But Rome wasn't about to let him stay in peace for long. By 458 BCE, the Republic was in serious trouble. The Aequi, a fierce mountain tribe, had broken a peace treaty and attacked Roman territory. One of Rome's consuls led an army to stop them but got surrounded at Mount Algidus. The soldiers were trapped, outnumbered, and had no way out. The Senate was desperate. They needed someone to save the army and the Republic itself. Their choice? Cincinnatus. A group of senators went to his farm to find him. They found him out in the fields, plowing the land himself. When they told him he had been chosen as dictator, a role that gave him total power for 6 months, he didn't waste time. He stopped what he was doing, put on his toga, the formal clothing of a Roman leader, and went straight to Rome to help. Cincinnatus was about to show everyone what true leadership looked like. Cincinnatus got to work right away. As soon as he became dictator, he shut down everything in Rome, shops were closed, and all regular business stopped. He called every man who could fight to gather at the Campus Martius. Each soldier had to bring 5 days of food and 12 wooden stakes for building defenses. With his army ready, Cincinnatus led them through the night to Mount Algidus. When they arrived, his plan was simple but smart. Using the stakes, his men built a wooden wall around the Aequi army, trapping them inside their camp. At sunrise, the Romans launched a big attack. The soldiers trapped in the Aequi camp fought their way out, while Cincinnatus's army attacked from the outside. The Aequi were completely surrounded and had no choice but to surrender. Cincinnatus let them live, but made sure they were humiliated. He forced the Aequi soldiers to walk under a yoke, a simple wooden structure that showed they were defeated. Back in Rome, Cincinnatus was treated like a hero. The people celebrated him with a triumph, a huge parade to honor his victory. But instead of holding on to power, Cincinnatus surprised everyone. After only 15 days as dictator, far less than the 6 months he could have served, he resigned. He went back to his farm and his plow, choosing a simple life over power. Nearly 20 years later, in 439 BCE, Rome faced a new kind of threat. Not an enemy army, but a wealthy man named Spurius Maelius. During a famine, Maelius gained popularity by giving away free grain. The Senate, however, suspected he planned to use this goodwill to make himself king. A terrifying idea in a republic that despised monarchy. Once again, the Senate turned to Cincinnatus, now almost 80 years old. He accepted the role of dictator to deal with the internal crisis. His first move was to appoint Gaius Servilius Ahala as his second in command. Ahala was sent to confront Maelius, who refused to appear before Cincinnatus and reportedly armed his followers. Ahala took swift action. He confronted Maelius in the Forum, the heart of Roman politics, and killed him on the spot. While the Senate praised Ahala for removing a threat, many questioned the act, as Maelius was killed without a trial. Cincinnatus quickly restored order. He dismantled Maelius's support and stabilized the republic. Then, just like before, he resigned as dictator after only 21 days and returned to his farm. The death of Maelius raised tough questions about justice and power. Was it right to kill him without due process? Did the Senate overreach? Even with Cincinnatus's leadership, the event showed how delicate Rome's political system was. These vulnerabilities would later be exploited by men like Sulla, Marius, and eventually Caesar, who brought an end to this republican form of government. Still, this crisis cemented Cincinnatus's legacy. Twice he had been given absolute power, and twice he gave it up as soon as his job was done, proving his loyalty to Rome above all else. Cincinnatus is remembered as a symbol of humility and virtue, but his story isn't so simple. While many saw him as a hero, his strong support for the patricians and his opposition to plebeian rights caused a divide. To the patricians, he was a protector of tradition. To the plebeians, he was part of the elite who didn't care about their struggles. Even Livy, who admired Cincinnatus, noted that plebeians were uneasy about him. They thought he had too much power and didn't support reforms like the Terentilian law, which aimed to give plebeians more of a voice. Cincinnatus thought he was defending the Republic, but many plebeians felt he was holding them back. His family's actions also created problems. After his son Caeso fled Rome to avoid a murder trial, the tribune who accused him, Marcus Vulcius, was later exiled during Cincinnatus's first dictatorship. Some say this was fair, but others think it might have been revenge. Later, another of his sons faced charges of military failure, but the case was dropped. Some believe it was out of sympathy for Cincinnatus, while others think his family's influence in the Senate helped. Cincinnatus also made some questionable choices. After his first dictatorship, he replaced the consul Lucius Minucius with someone he picked. While Minucius had made mistakes, the consul's position was supposed to be elected, not appointed. This raised questions about whether Cincinnatus went too far. These events show that Cincinnatus wasn't perfect. He had many admirable qualities, but he was also shaped by the time he lived in, a time when power and influence often decided outcomes more than fairness. Most of what we know about Cincinnatus comes from historians who wrote about him long after his time. Some parts of his story may have been exaggerated or even invented to reflect Roman ideals, but does it really matter if every detail is true? To the Romans, Cincinnatus wasn't just a man, he was a symbol of what their republic stood for: humility, selflessness, and putting the greater good above personal gain. His story wasn't just about what he did, it was about what he represented. Cincinnatus's influence didn't stop with Rome. During the American Revolution, George Washington was often compared to him. Like Cincinnatus, Washington led his country to victory and then willingly gave up power, refusing to become a king. The connection was so strong that a group of Revolutionary War veterans named themselves the Society of the Cincinnati, honoring both Washington and the Roman leader. Even today, you can see his influence. The city of Cincinnati, Ohio, is named after him, a lasting tribute to the ideals he stood for. Cincinnatus's story carries a timeless lesson about leadership. In an era where ambition often overshadows service, he shows us what true greatness looks like. He could have used his power to enrich himself or secure his family's future, but he didn't. Instead, he chose to step away when his job was done, prioritizing the Republic over his own interests. His life is also a warning about the dangers of pride and the need for accountability. Cincinnatus's legacy teaches us that the best leaders are those who know when to let go of power. Cincinnatus wasn't just a man of his time, he was a man for all time. His humility, integrity, and dedication to the common good made him a legend, not just in Rome, but throughout history. Twice he was given absolute power, and twice he gave it up. What do you think of Cincinnatus's story? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more fascinating tales from history.